Hey everybody, welcome back to the latest episode of the Wakelet podcast. Michael here, tuning in from the Wakelet offices in Manchester in the UK. Back with another episode of the professional development mini-series within the Wakelet podcast. So thank you to everybody for tuning in. We're back here with another really exciting guest. Grace Vella is joining us today. Grace, how's it going?
Good, thank you. I'm very well.
Well, it's very good to have you here. For those who don't know, Grace is a former Man City and Liverpool football player and is now the founder of Miss Kick, the first female football brand in the UK. So I'm really excited to get an insight into what your journey has been so far, how Miss Kick started, what your background is. So do you want to give us like a breakdown of where it came from, how it started?
Yeah, sure. So life for me, I grew up right next to a football pitch back in Skelmersdale, which is a very, very small town near Liverpool. And I came from a family who were big Liverpool fans, so I didn't really have much of a choice than to sort of want to play football, but I found it was something I was really, really passionate about from a young age. And some of my earliest memories growing up were just being on that field, kicking a ball around. And for me, my ambition was always to go and play at the highest level. I always wanted to make it as a pro. So I had the fortunate to go and play for like Liverpool and Manchester City in my youth. But in the end, for me, when I was 18, I got released from Manchester City. I'd made decisions to go there, move to a new city, and at the time, you couldn't be a pro footballer. You had to have a alongside job. So I had gone to uni at the same time, and my contract didn't get extended. So I found myself in this city, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna take football backseat for now and go and do something else. So I went to uni to do psychology. No real plan. I just really enjoyed it. Always found like mindset and understanding human behaviour really interesting. And it's so true, as one door shuts, another door opens. And it was when I was at university that I sort of had the idea for the brand. So as much as like I reflect on football and it was so positive and I loved it, I felt like as a girl there wasn't that many opportunities for me as if I was a boy. The products I bought never fit properly, and just like generally the way people treated me as a girl was different. So I thought, you know what, I want to do something to change this. So in my third year at uni, I took an optional placement year, and I a bit randomly went and volunteered for a homeless charity. And I think from the ups and downs of football, I felt like my confidence had been knocked massively, but I think being in that environment, it really inspired me to realise like I had so many opportunities still. And I thought I had a bit more spare time and I wanted to get back into the football space. So I had 6 months of just Googling how to learn about business, how to design logos, how to print on t-shirts, and just utilise that time to really learn and develop. And so launched Miss Kick in June 2018 at my dad's football tournament on the same field I grew up playing at.
Oh, nice.
And it went down really well. I didn't really have any big ambitions for it. I just wanted to see how it would do, and people just seemed to really resonate with it, and people were really excited. So I just carried on going, and I had to go back to uni and get my degree, obviously, so got that out the way. And from that moment on, I was like, this is what I'm doing. I had no experience, but I was just going to see how far I could get Miss Kick to go.
That's
and
amazing.
Thankfully, I'm still going.
It's going great.
It's going okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's definitely really inspiring to kind of get an insight into what the journey has been like. And it's like, not only is the product that you're offering really, really good, high quality, but it's also the message that I think you're sharing with the world is, you know, you speak out the inequality in sport, and that's kind of like an issue that you want to address. What kind of reaction have you had, you know, from that message? Yeah,
it really resonates with a lot of people, which is, it's sad in a way, because the women's game and women's sports come on so much over the past sort of 5 years, but we still get messages daily from young girls who say like they feel like ostracised, or they feel like they're not confident like when they go and play sport. And for me, like, that's what Miss Kick's about. Like, I want people to see the brand and feel inspired and feel like part of something. Like, I want them to feel like represented. So like, although they play for all these different teams all over the country and all over the world, they feel safe when they see something like Miss Kick, when they put their clothes on. Like, it's so much more than a t-shirt. Like, it's how it makes them feel. And yeah, like I say, it's come on massively, but I think we've still got to keep fighting for sort of equality in women's sport, for sure.
Absolutely. And it must be great to be on that pursuit and to be part of that and kind of leading the way in a lot of ways, because I've seen the responses that you've had. People really see you as like a beacon of hope, or as a real trailblazer. So that must be really inspiring. I want to talk about community a little bit, and
Yeah.
of course I think the word movement is more appropriate perhaps with Miss Kick, because it is a global movement and it's going in a direction that is really powerful. What kind of importance do you think community has for Miss Kick?
Oh, it's massive. Community comes first in my eyes. And it all sort of came very organically. So when I was getting out and about in the early days, just selling t-shirts at football tournaments, people start to come over, they get to talk to you, they get to hear about your story. But more so over, I'd say, through lockdown. So that's where the community started to really grow. So we were getting lots of messages on Instagram, on Facebook from young girls and parents saying, because of football wasn't on, the girls were really struggling.
Right.
So we were like, right, we've got to do something. Like, what can we do? So we set up this WhatsApp chat with 30 girls on it. And I think now we're up to about 800 girls from all over the world, in America, Canada, Australia. And it's so much more than football. Like, obviously that's what the shared passion is, but they talk about like the problems at home, they talk about dogs, they talk about anything, food, and it's about that sense of community that is so important to me. And just an example, like last night me and the team went to watch Manchester City women play, and there was 3 girls there wearing Miss Kick in the crowd. They're coming over, hugging you, and they're like, so good to meet you. And it's like,
oh wow, that must
crazy.
Be great. Do they recognise you?
Yeah. And that's probably the first time it happened, like last night.
Wow, what's that like?
Crazy. Yeah. But it's good because you know them through social media, but never met them in person. And it was like, we didn't know they were going to be there, and then coming over, like, that's what I want to do more of. Now, like, the world's opening up and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. It must mean a lot to them as well to see you kind of stand up for something that means so much to them as well.
Yeah, I hope to think, like, because us as a brand stand for that they feel like they can also go and sort of spread that message as well. Because I think that's how change is going to happen, is if more people feel confident enough to speak out and to sort of prove people wrong and show
Absolutely.
that they have got a space.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a universal issue as well. I guess it's something that you mentioned, that it's from all over the world, but it's an issue that females have had to deal with throughout. So, you know, I'm sure, as you say, resonates with people from multiple countries.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. So it's something that we speak about on this podcast a lot is mentality and kind of what it takes to try and be ambitious and to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and the kind of mindset that's required. I know you mentioned you studied psychology at university. Yeah. Something that you've been interested. But what about psychology appealed to you?
I think it was just I think when I look back at my career in football, I learned that I was very gifted, so I was very talented, but I felt like I didn't have it up here. Like, I didn't have the mental strength that maybe the other girls who've gone on, who are now playing at the highest level, have got.
Right.
And I think I learned that from a young age. And so I made sure that when I came out of football, that I really wanted to work on that and to really develop my mindset. And I'd say that's been probably one of the most important things I've done in running a business. So reading books and going to university and really understanding like how your brain operates and how important it is. Like, self-belief, positive thinking is massive, and it's difficult. Like, it is really, really difficult to do. But that sort of optimism, and especially in business, like, so many things go wrong, and you'll know, like, ups and downs, and you've got to just have that belief to keep going, and that's why I think I've got to where I have with Miss Kick.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of comparison between sports performance and business performance.
Yeah.
Like, I find, I mean, I've never played at your level by any means, but the importance of mindset and the importance of mentality, and it's very transferable from sport into
there's
business.
so much between sport and business in terms of like teamwork, mentality. It's the same thing. You've got to get up every day, you've got to dedicate your time, you've got to work hard, you've got to believe in what you're creating. It's no different from football. So probably them early experiences helped me in terms of, like, I was playing at quite a high level, so the pressure of having to deal with that's probably helped me with what I'm doing now.
Cool. And in terms of human behavior and positive thought patterns, is there kind of an overview of do you share with your team like a certain value system or a certain set of principles that you kind of say, you know, if it is a challenging time or if people are a little bit reluctant to take risks, perhaps, is there some kind of an ethos or a culture that you communicate with your team when it comes to, like, mentality? Yeah,
I always say when there's problems, like, there's always a solution. So you've always got to try and find a way to come out of it. Don't try and focus on the negative. There's always positive and something. And I'd like to think with my, like, natural optimism, it sort of rubs off on everyone else. So of course we're a startup and there's risk and things can go wrong, like Miss Kick, something bad could happen, but I think they look to me a lot, so trying to make sure that no matter what's happening, I've got a level head and positive. So when they come to me with problems, I'm like, it's okay. This is how we're going to get around it.
Yeah.
Instead of dwelling on the sort of issue itself.
That's great. And in terms of challenges, I'm not sure what kind of challenges that you face, but is there a story or anything that kind of comes to mind when it comes to like a challenge, or maybe something that's like negative that would perhaps dampen the morale of the team? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I'd say probably the one that came to mind first was lockdown and coronavirus.
Yeah, of course.
So, like I said, we got a lot of our initial traction through going to events, meeting people, and I think we had like 15 events planned for that summer when obviously the virus sort of shut everything down. So as a small business, and I'd ordered all my stock and I was ready to go, for that to happen, I was like, okay, this isn't great. But instead of sort of dwelling on the negative, I used that time to really focus on like where I was up to and really reflect on where I wanted the brand to go. And throughout that process, we rebranded completely, and there's no way I'd be sat here today if I hadn't have switched my mindset and again didn't focus on the negative but saw the opportunity. So I think that's what I try and instill in the team every day is, yes, things go wrong and we might have to pivot, we have to be adaptable, but that's just the nature of a startup, and that's the only way. Like, I'll plan out, I'll make a plan, it might not go to plan, but it's having that mindset to be like, that's okay, like you've just got to adapt to it and just keep moving forwards.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure very inspiring for your team.
You can ask them.
Well, the energy is so good. Like it's definitely contagious to the point where, you know, taking opportunity, being optimistic, not being afraid of challenges, I think is something that
brave. You've got to be brave.
Yeah.
And it comes with like practice, I think. I think because I nearly never did miss kick because I was scared of what people thought, or I didn't. A bit of imposter syndrome. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to run a business, but you just sort of chuck yourself in the deep end, like we were saying, and just sort of learn as you go along. And I think you've just got to accept that you are going to make mistakes. Again, I always reflect back to football. I was a centre midfield player, always on the ball, and as I got higher up the sort of league, I started to play it safe and probably didn't do what I was good at, which was finding them killer passes and shooting. I stopped shooting, and it was just because I was so scared of making a mistake. And now I've learned with what we're doing at Miskick, like you learn so much from doing things wrong, and it's just seeing it in that way, rather than being afraid to take that jump, because I couldn't be where I am today if I hadn't have sort of figured that out in my head.
Fearlessness is something that's really important to you.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, obviously working at Wakelet and other experiences in my life, it's normal to feel nervous or feel like I don't want to do this, I don't want to be part of it, but it's just kind of like making yourself do it. Yeah. And to see what the results are, and if there is a mistake or if there is a failure, you learn from it. Yeah. And you know that you can do it, and you know what it's like. If you familiarize yourself with the uncomfortable or the feeling of nervousness, like if it's, you know, public speaking is an obvious one. I think a lot of people always speak about public speaking is very difficult, and people would avoid it, but I think once you put yourself into the war zone and just like take the pressure, after a while you always kind of
so true. I used to think being nervous meant that I shouldn't be in that situation, but like it means that I'm actually pushing myself and I'm growing. So whenever I feel nervous, I think this is a good thing, it's not a bad thing, because I'm giving myself the opportunity to grow. And like you say, as long as you learn from your mistakes, I think you've got to give yourself not a hard time.
I think that's true. I think you should start enjoying the sensation of being nervous, or enjoying the what's the word, the occasion, or the pressure. You like pressure?
I think, I say this, I think I remember, because I'm not to plug Ben Francis, but I was fortunate to go and meet Ben Francis, and one of the things he said to me was pressure is a privilege. So he said that means you're in a valuable position, and that always stuck with me, and it's so true. And I think as footballers, as business owners, you thrive in that environment when you have that pressure. Without it, I don't think you push as hard and you don't move forward as quickly. So sometimes sometimes you have to ask me on what day.
Sure. I mean, I think there's different types of pressure, isn't there? And there's different moments where pressure is a really, really good thing, and it forces you to just, you know, crack on and get on with it, because there's no point in getting distracted or feeling sorry for yourself. You just have to be proactive. And I think that's probably a massive part of startup culture as well. Of course, you know, Wakelet, it's coming from a startup background, as every company does, but you're very much in a startup environment too. I guess pressure is part and parcel of all of that.
Absolutely. And this, because I've obviously gone through the process at the moment of hiring people, which is a completely different ballpark in itself, never done that before. And I said to them, like, for me, it's more about you as a person than it is your skills. I want you to work hard. I want you to understand, like, things are going to go. It's not going to be a 9-to-5 job where you come in and you do the same thing every day. It's quite high pressure. You've got to adapt. But I think certain people really thrive in that environment. So I think sometimes pressure and stress and has like negative connotations, but I think it also really helps you develop.
Yeah, I mean, I think like from my experience working at Wakelet, even if initially the pressure and the stress was like, you know, terrifying for me and I struggled with it, you just get used to it, don't you? And I think I really like what you say about personality and character being more important than maybe even like a technical skill set and what kind of experience you have. If you're the right cultural fit for a company and you're willing to like join the troops.
Jump in. Yeah, it's massive.
But I mean, I've heard from various podcasts and different entrepreneurs saying that hiring is very difficult. But it seems like your team is great. It seems like you've found some really brilliant people. Yeah,
I'm very lucky with the team so far. They all really buy into what Miskick stands for, and like when we went out to the game last night, they were getting like really emotional about like seeing people in the kit, and we get letters sent in from our community members, and they generally care. And for me, that's all I ask for, is that they care and that they work hard and I can trust them. But I guess it'll get more difficult as the business grows, and but we'll see.
Of course, but I'm sure you will grow with it. Do you find that you've grown with the business? Massively, and like we were saying before, you don't realise it until you actually take a step back, like the journey you've been on. And like you'll find yourself in a meeting talking about something that you didn't have a clue what the word meant like 1 month ago. But it's I feel very privileged to be in the position I am, to be able to learn so much on a daily basis, and as sort of the position I'm in as founder, you have to sort of know every aspect of the business. So I've had fortunate to go and learn about warehousing, products, marketing, and I get to float between everything, which broadens my skill set. So I do get the privilege of doing that, which is very good. That's amazing. And we were speaking about, you know, kind of not really being aware of your growth until maybe with a bit of hindsight, and you were mentioning the podcast that you've been on maybe a couple of years ago, and you realize, wow, I've grown so much. It must be exciting to be part of that.
So exciting. Like I say, I feel very lucky, and this is something that I've always dreamed of, like hiring a team, having an office, even having a warehouse. So like 12 months ago, I was still at my mum's kitchen table going the post office with all my parcels, and the postman's like, oh, here she is with these parcels. So it is like, and you do, it's only when you talk about it like in experiences like this, you're like, wow, like I actually am doing what I set out to do.
Well, you must be proud then
I am, but I don't want to get complacent.
Yeah, I as I said that, I realized, no, there's so much more growth.
We've not even got started in the sort of Miskick story.
I think that's like a reflection of a really good mentality.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I was watching the Netflix Michael Jordan documentary, and it's very much a case of, even if you achieve great things, it's important to celebrate your victories. I do agree with that, but it's always like, what's next?
Always.
How can we continue growing? How can we continue maintaining this really intense drive? Do you find that that's relevant for you?
So true. Like, it's that balance between actually having a minute to step back and be like, yeah, this is great, because I think, like you say, that's important. I think it's important for the team as well, because I know that I'm pushing them every single day to stop. We always have on a Friday, we sort of have a roundup and what we've achieved this week, because that's really important. Otherwise, I'm terrible for it. You always think about that next goal, that next step, and which is important. Otherwise, you're never going to move in that direction. But it's important to also reflect. But like, it's crazy because I wanted to get to here, but now I'm thinking, well, no, because I wanted to get to that in 12 months' time. I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Without actually stopping.
Okay. I think that's great. I think that's so cool. And it's like, again, it's the similarity between sports performance and business performance. It's like always looking to achieve more.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. And we mentioned, or we touched on the topic of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and that element of nervousness and embracing the pressure, etc. Is there any experience or any example for that you kind of think of when the topic of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone comes up?
Running a business in general. I think every day, I don't think it ever goes away. I think when I was starting out, I thought there'll come a time where I actually feel really comfortable and happy, and I'll feel like I'll know everything, but you just sort of have to keep going. Like, it doesn't stop, like that feeling, because in business there's so much to learn, and you never stop learning. There's always something new to sort of get your head into. So every single day I feel out of my comfort zone. Whether that's addressing the team, whether it's speaking to suppliers, whether it's pitching to investors, there's not a moment where I don't feel that pressure. But like we talked about, it's so important, and I don't see it as negative anymore. I sort of thrive and want to find myself in them positions, because that means I'm growing, and I know to myself that I'm giving myself the best shot. getting to where I want to be.
That's great. Awesome. I think a lot of our listeners, of course, might be educators or whatever kind of working environment people work in. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be the importance of like a positive mentality. Is there any advice that you would give to like the listeners just generally when it comes to mentality and overcoming challenges?
I think what I've learned is like take every day as it comes. So like you think about set up a business or like that's a big goal. Right.
Yes,
and
it is.
There's so many things to it. So what I did was I broke it down into small manageable things I could do every single day. So it could be like think of the name, design a logo, buy the domain, build the website, and like actually split it up. And I think the more you sort of tick it off, like, oh, I've done that, it gives you like that self-belief that, do you know what, I can actually do this. Like take small steps every single day. I'd say get people around you that you can trust and who you can ask for advice. So I've been very, very fortunate to meet great people who want to support the business, who want to support me personally. So having that support network, people to bounce ideas off, ask for advice, that, and them seeing you, like they actually believe in you, like they think that you can do it. It's that positive like reflection that you get on yourself. So I'd definitely say that, but just take one step up the ladder every single day and don't see it as you've got to achieve this massive goal all at once. And just do it in a way that builds confidence, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I think that's brilliant. And I think for myself, but I'm sure for every listener, that's applicable to whatever line of work that you're in, or even if it's applying it to your family life or, personal growth generally. I think that's really, really valuable insight. So, that's really cool. Something that I like to speak about on these podcasts, and we've kind of touched on the concept of leadership. And I think for you, obviously, leadership is important within your business and the team that you're building. Leadership's important.
Massively,
But also, I think with the movement that Miss Kick has sparked around the world, a lot of people are looking to you as the leader and as the representative of a message that's really, really important. What to you is good leadership?
I think it's leading by example. So I always want to make sure within my team that they know that I'm working hard, I believe in myself, I'm confident, because I think that spreads out into them. And I think as well, like just being yourself and like generally just living by your values is so important. I think to be a good leader, like you have to be authentic and you have to be passionate and you have to believe, because then these people will then follow you because you generally care about what it is that they also care about. But yeah, I'd say that.
No, I think that's great. when you say values and when you you're authentic with what you care about, could you be a bit more specific, do you reckon? So I think for me it's always been about sharing, because I come from like a really normal family background, not born into like money or anything, and I come from a very small town, and I think there's a mentality within that place like that you can't achieve stuff, or because of where you've grown up, or you can't go and achieve things. So I think I've always wanted to prove people wrong, whether that was in school or football, for example. I was a girl, people looking at me, because she's a girl, she can't play football. And I've always wanted to prove people wrong and show it doesn't matter like what you look like or where you're from, like you can achieve great things. So I've always tried to instill that in my team, in like the movement that I'm creating with Miss Kick. And I hope I can continue to do that as I move forward. I'd say that they're like my values, is like hard work, determination, and just believing in what you're trying to do. I want to like show other people and young people in particular that you can go and do these things as well. So as a leader, that's really important to me. Great. No, I think that comes across.
Does it?
Very much so. Even on this podcast up until this point, it's very clear what your values are. It's definitely comes across really, really well. And I think I relate to it in a sense that I come from like a small village in the south of Ireland, and whatever the mentality is in that particular area, I feel like an underdog, kind of trying to navigate my way into the business world and trying to grow as a person and as a professional and achieve certain things. The element of being an underdog and kind of realizing that you have to be down to earth, you have to work hard, and you have to kind of stick to your values. I think that definitely resonates with me, and I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of listeners as well. So that's really, really cool. There's a bit of drilling going on in the background here.
I don't know whether it was the coffee machine, the noise that coffee machine was making before.
It's a bit suspect, that coffee machine. I feel like it makes an odd noise. What's next for Miss Kick?
What's next? Gosh, so obviously the team's growing, so now our team of 6, and our big thing that we're looking to achieve is the Women's Euros is in England next year. Great timing for us as a brand, being a football brand. So we're working up towards that. So it's going to be thousands of people from all over Europe coming to this country. So we're looking to really capitalise on that. So we want like pop-up shops, events, bring our community along. So we're planning that. Another big thing is our product, so always looking to improve on what we're delivering in that regard. We want to be seen as like the brand that really provides the best kit that makes people feel confident, and no matter the body shape, whether they're a size 8 or the size 16. So really developing our product and our community. Obviously the community is massive, and we want to be able to reach Miskick all over the world, whether that's in Europe. America's massively important to us. It's a huge sort of soccer market, as they call it. So to go over there and do things over there is important to me. And finally, I'd say we've recently launched our charity. So we have our Miskick Foundation, which is sort of my passion project, and to make sure that we are doing our bit to give back into the grassroots level. So giving girls and women opportunities to feel inspired by sports, whether we can give them opportunities to reach the highest level or feel just more confident going to the game, or mums on the sideline learning to be lineswomen. Just trying to get as many people involved in sport.
Wow, I didn't realise that there was a foundation.
Yeah. So right from the beginning, I think it was £1 of every t-shirt I gave back. So
wow,
I used to just buy kit for the local team in Skelmersdale, where I'm from, but obviously as the business grows, like you can't just be doing that, Grace. So we had to make like a separate sort of organisation, and we have a Trustee Board, and they're fantastic, and that's launched 3 months ago, so we're really looking to grow that as well.
Cool. Wow, that's amazing.
Thanks.
You mentioned the product. What is it that you actually offer? What kind of products are available?
So we do a bit of everything at the moment. We have our more apparel based products, so your lingerie, t-shirts, hoodies, for those who just want to like support the movement, want to feel like part of the community. But what I'm most excited about, which is coming out this autumn winter, is our first fully bespoke technical range. So products that you can actually wear on the pitch. We've got fully designed fitted kits for women, which again, when I was growing up, like it was massive. Like you had these massive long sleeves, and you felt like you're going to take off with the wind hit you. So like actual product that girls feel confident in.
Cool.
So that's coming out in autumn winter, and then just accessories and things that you can feel like you can wear Miskick and feel part of.
Great. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend every listener checks out Miskick. There's a lot of really cool products there. You mentioned, of course, that when the pandemic started and lockdown kind of stopped you from, from going out and about and meeting people. And you mentioned the Euros next year. Is there any other plans that you have for getting out and about and meeting?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So we will be doing every tournament in the UK next year for sure.
Yeah, great.
we'll be at every single tournament. Obviously the Euro is massive, so we'll be hopefully having our pop-up shops around the sort of key host cities. We recently sponsored Bristol City, so they're in the championship of the women's game, and they've got a game at Ashton Gate, which is the men's stadium. So we're going to go down there, hopefully meet our community down in Bristol. And then for me, like I say, America's massive, and I want to be able to get out there and grow the community out there. And the following year is the World Cup in Australia. So again, we'd love to get the team out in Australia.
Great.
For a month or so. Unreal. Yeah. I say if we're not in Australia in 2022, we failed. So.
Okay. I like that. I like that goal. You mentioned America. Obviously, the Americans women team are really, really good. So I can imagine the popularity of women's football is grown quite a lot in America.
Oh, it's massive. I think it's come a long way, to be fair, because when I was younger, a lot of the girls my age would go out and play in America because the opportunity was there. I think they've just recently got equal pay, which I know they've been fighting for, which is fantastic. But I always look at the American market and think, why can't we do that here in the UK? I think we will get there. I think it will be as big as the women's is over in America, but we just need a bit of time. But yeah, it's massive. I think there's about 10 million girls playing football over in America, which is huge. Yeah.
Well, all the best, I'm sure Miskick should take over the States. And obviously, again, a lot of our listeners are probably based in America, so
amazing.
Definitely check out Miskick. I wanted to kind of wrap up the episode with a few quick fire questions. So I'm going to jump straight in with who inspires you?
Oh, who inspires me? I think the team inspire me every day. And that, like, having a support network and just seeing them work so hard, like, and being in that environment, they inspire me so much. In terms of like role models in business, Ben Francis is obviously Gymshark. What he's done is absolutely incredible. So I've always looked to him. I think how he's created a community around his brand, and he's really inspired people, empowered people, and brought people together. Like that's what I see Miskick doing in the future. So he's always been a big sort of role model. And my mum and dad, bless them, like they're the most normal people in the world, but like they gave me every opportunity, and my dad in particular took me all over the country playing football, and like if they didn't give me them opportunities, then I wouldn't be with where I am in Miss Kick. So yeah, shout out to my mum and dad.
Great.
Always.
Cool. I like that. And we mentioned learning and kind of being open to learning. Is there anything recently that you've learned that you thought, oh, this is cool?
Ooh.
It can be outside of business. It could be anything. If it's like a lockdown hobby even.
Something I've learned. I'd say I've learned a lot recently about, like, because my role shifted massively. I'd say even the past 3 months, from sort of being in the business to like working on the business. I've learned, like, it's when you're like sort of looking after a team, like how to speak to people and manage people and try and get like the best out of them. I think I did a lot of it at university. In terms of, one of my options was organisational psychology, which are around leadership and operations and things like that. So I've learned a lot recently about, like, certain people, like, you have to speak to differently,
absolutely,
and then communicate in different ways in order to get the best out of them. But that's being very self-aware, and it's something that I've never really thought about in terms of like when I talk to people, but you have to be like more receptive. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And when Leon Lloyd was on the podcast recently, and he was speaking on this topic as well, is that people respond differently to different leadership styles and different personalities. You kind of have to assess someone's personality pretty immediately, I'd say, in a lot of scenarios, and then kind of manufacture what you say to them based on their personality. Yeah,
and I'm sure I'm getting it wrong. Like, I won't be getting it all right, because it's all new to me.
Of course.
But being more aware is...
Being aware of that, that's cool. And it's hard to kind of...
So hard, yeah.
But I'm sure you kind of get good at it, and I'm sure having a background in psychology as well is a massive help with that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And last quick fire question, what does a day look like in your life?
So varied. No day is the same. I can't even give you an answer, because because of sort of the role I'm in, it's so different. So, for example, today filming a podcast, we're going back, we'll have a meeting with a league, then I've got people coming in tomorrow, I've got to go meet with my investors, I've got to go, I was in the warehouse last week, checking the stock's okay. We're going to an event last night. It's very varied, but I think that's what I love about it so much. Like, no day is the same. It's no 9-to-5 job where you come in and you do X, Y, Z today. You just got to, like, next week I don't know where I'll be, but that's sort of the beauty of it. Yeah, great. A great answer. Well, Grace, thanks so much. Thank you. Really inspiring, genuinely inspiring to hear your story, and I'm sure Miss Cake is going to take over the world. So yeah, all the best for the future. Thank you. Again, highly recommend listeners to check out Miss Cake. Is there any kind of social media sites or a website that you want to drive people towards? Yeah, so just our social channels are all Miss Kick. So if you search that on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our website's misskick.com. Awesome. For anyone to go check out. Awesome. Great. As always, with these Wakelet podcasts, we'll include a Wakelet collection with all of the links. So yeah, explore it, check out Miss Kick, check out the social media, give them a follow. A really, really inspiring brand. Again, Grace, thanks so much for coming this day. It was great to talk to you. Thanks for the opportunity. Of course, no, our pleasure. And to all the listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.